Good Sunday afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Around the Horn with Ben McKee. I'm Brent Hubbs, Volquest.com. The Tennessee baseball team, shocker, win again. Series sweep over Missouri, 4-3 win for the Volunteers on this sunny Sunday afternoon. Ben, when you look at this Tennessee team before we get into this game, what did you learn about the Vols this weekend and this sweep over Missouri?
The one thing that stood out to me is that Will Mabry's at the top of the totem pole in the bullpen now. I think it's been trending in that direction for a while now. And you still have Redmond back there, but he's the de facto closer. But in terms of other arms available, I think it's that Will Mabry is now number one top of the board of trust after Redmond Walsh. If Redmond's penciled in as that closer, the gap between getting from the starter to the closer, I think Will Mabry's that guy. He was terrific Friday, Sunday. We'll have a short conversation with him that will drop on the board and on the front page Monday afternoon with Will Mabry. He's got a cool story of being the Michael Jordan of this baseball team. You'll get the reference if you listen to the pod on Monday. That was the thing that stood out to me. And aside from that, Tony Vitello said it afterwards that Tennessee needed a weekend like this where they were pushed. And Missouri's pitchers gave Tennessee its toughest competition to this point in the season. And I think that's really going to prove to be a great factor for or a great beneficiary for Tennessee because you've got an Alabama team coming in that right now is underway in Game 3, looking to sweep Ole Miss, and then they'll go to Florida next weekend after Florida had a big series win this weekend as well over number 2 Arkansas.
So did Tennessee not play well? Did Missouri play well? Or was this just a weekend series of the SEC, in the season, which is what Tennessee fans should expect, even though they kind of cruised through the first 3 series the way they did. Not that they were really pushed in this one to the point of getting beat, but this one was, I guess, more contested than a lot of people thought it would be going in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little mixture of all three. I do think that Tennessee maybe wasn't as locked in at times, maybe because of the team that they were playing. I mean, Missouri's been at the bottom of the barrel for the last several years. They were tied for last in the SEC East coming in. I would imagine they probably stand alone at the bottom of the SEC East now. So I'm sure they were looking at the logo and the name on the jersey and the record, and that didn't help to start Friday and Saturday night. But I do think Missouri's actually a little bit better than their record indicates. They've got some bats in that lineup that I think are going to get a shot at professional baseball. Their arms that started the games, the back end of their bullpen was not good at all. But the starters Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they impressed me. I thought that they were just better than we anticipated, more so than Tennessee just not showing up, being ready to play. And it's SEC ball. I mean, Tennessee's 12-0 to start conference play, literally the best start ever in SEC baseball history by any team. But at some point, they will lose a series. It's just baseball. So part of it's SEC baseball, part of it's maybe not being as locked in as they should be, and part of it is, to me, Missouri being a little bit better than their record indicates.
Yeah, I thought Missouri was super aggressive at the plate, particularly early in the games. And if they had a bullpen, that'd be a pretty good baseball team. Their bullpen is just not very good at all. When Tennessee ran the starters out Friday and Saturday, that thing was over. Bullpen was better on Sunday afternoon to make that thing close, but that's the first time they got any real production out of their pen. Let's talk about the Sunday game. Drew Beam, 6 1/3 innings, 2 runs, 6 hits, 7 Ks. Solid outing, and Tennessee needed him to go deep into the game, much like they needed Chase to go deep in the game on Saturday. That was a benefit for the Vols.
It really was. And Drew Beam continues to be Drew Beam, and that's throw strikes. He was not leaving pitches over the middle of the plate, whereas on Friday and Saturday, when Chase Burns struggled Friday night, he was leaving pitches over the middle of the plate. When Chase Dolander struggled over those first 3 innings, he was leaving pitches over the middle of the plate. Dolander was obviously able to correct that and be much more efficient the last couple of innings of his outing. But Drew did what Drew does. He throws strikes, and he doesn't leave things over the middle of the plate. He has better stuff than maybe people anticipate just because he's a true freshman, didn't pitch junior or senior year of high school. But that fastball sits mid-90s. He's got sharp break on his slider, and his changeup looks pretty good right now. But the thing that he does best with those tools is that he throws it for strikes. And not only does he throw it to strikes, 4 strikes, he doesn't leave it over the middle of the plate. He trusts his defense. He lets them work, and he's been tremendous. I joked up in the press box earlier that I think Drew Beam has surpassed Chase Burns for the lead in the SEC Freshman of the Year race. And it's early and it's not a serious conversation yet, but I did not think that 4 or 5 starts in the SEC play that Drew Beam would be in front of Chase Burns for that race for SEC Freshman of the Year.
He's certainly not had a bad outing to this point, and we'll see how he progresses moving forward. Luke Lipschitz today was his day. 2 of 3, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs. It's just a reminder to me, Ben, that this lineup is so deep. I mean, Trey Lipskin can go 0 for on a Sunday, and it's not that big of a deal. He was great in Friday and Saturday's games. It just seems like it's a different guy every day for this baseball team.
And that's what makes this baseball team so great. Whether it's on the mound, whether it's in the lineup, like you just said, it's somebody different every day. And for the most part, everybody's very consistent. But that's where you see the great teams separate from the good teams. And that's the key in baseball. You don't want to have your whole lineup struggling at once. It's baseball. People are going to struggle. You fail more than you succeed in the game of baseball, but you don't want everybody going through a slump at the same time. And Tennessee's lineup really does a great job of having 2 or 3 guys slumping, but the other 6 to 7 guys really picking up the slack. And that's why you don't see Tennessee as the team go through big droughts. And Luke Lipschitz just doesn't get his due for how good of a baseball player he is. I know he has his struggles against lefties, but, man, he had a lot of pop in his bat. He is terrific against righties. He's a great defender. And it's really cool that he's a great defender now because he was not a great defender when he first got to Tennessee. He had to kind of wait his time, suffered through some injuries. And now it's pretty funny that 3 years after his twin brother heads off to professional baseball, he's still playing baseball for the Vols. And again, I just don't think Luke gets enough credit for how good of a baseball player he is. And you saw why today.
As we wrap this thing up, how big was it this weekend to happen for the bullpen? That they had not been really worked the last couple of weeks because of the great starting pitching that Tennessee got. They were put in some different situations. Tony Vitello played a lot of situational baseball with his bullpen on Friday night, Saturday night, and then obviously they close it out on Sunday. How important was this weekend for the bullpen just to kind of stay lathered up and warm because they had not been much of a factor the last 2 weeks because they hadn't been counted on or needed?
Yeah, I mean, it was very important. We knew that Tennessee's bullpen had this ability, but it's just nice to get out and get reps. The starting pitchers last week were so good that you didn't need them, but you still want them to get reps. It's why Tennessee had to stay over 30, 45 minutes or so in Nashville last weekend to allow Ben Joyce to throw a bullpen, allow Blake Tidwell to throw a bullpen, and others as well. So not a bad thing that you don't have to use your bullpen, but it's a long season. They play 60 games. If they go to Omaha, they'll play upwards of 70, I think. And you are going to need them, as you saw this weekend, several instances over the remainder of the season. We're just over the halfway point, and their number will be called upon. If Tennessee wants to win the SEC tournament, make it back to Omaha, win the national championship, Will Mabry's going to have to record big outs. Redmond Walsh is going to have to come up with big saves as he has done all throughout his career. You haven't seen a ton of Ben Joyce yet, but Ben Joyce is going to have to record some big outs, and it just goes on down the line for that Tennessee bullpen. So I always knew that this bullpen had the potential to do it this weekend, but it's just really important them reps because they will certainly have their number called as Tennessee looks to win a national championship this year.
This Tennessee baseball team, remarkably 31-1, 12-0 in SEC play. We've got full coverage of the Vols sweep over the Missouri Tigers at Volquest.com. And don't forget to join us on Monday. We got 3-2-1. We'll go extra innings. Ben will with his podcast. Plenty of things coming up all week long on Tennessee baseball as the Volunteers back at home next week at Lindsey Nelson Stadium for another 3-game set. That's going to do it for this edition of Around the Horn. For Ben McKee, I'm Brent Hubbs, Volquest.com.